once upon a time, deep in a forest, filled with beautiful tall trees, mighty oaks, beautiful pines, there lived a shoemaker and his wife. They were both very hardworking. However, it got to the point where the shoemaker he only had enough money to buy leather for one more pair of shoes. And he told his wife this, and he cut the pair of leather out, and he said to his wife, "All I can make is one pair of shoes. When they are all gone, what will I do?" He was full with so much dread and fear about what would happen. However, being a good man, he decided to cut out leather for the one pair of shoes, put them in his shop, and go to bed and work on them in the morning. So he and his wife returned to bed as they normally did. But something magical happened in the middle of the night. While they were sleeping, brand new pair of finely crafted shoes were made from the leather that he put out. So when they woke up the next morning, they couldn't believe their eyes. And the shoemaker even said to his wife, "What do I see? A pair of made shoes. From whence did they come? This must be a ruse." They were so beautifully crafted, the most beautiful craftsmanship he had ever seen. And while they were wondering if this was indeed a joke, a customer happened to come into his shop. And the customer saw the fine pair of leather shoes and admired them and was filled with so much joy at the pair of shoes that he said, "I will pay you more." In fact, he sang to the shoemaker. He said, "These shoes are so fine and beautiful too. I'll pay more than you're asking for this pair of shoes." And he did. He paid not just for one pair of shoes, but he paid enough money so that the shoemaker could actually buy enough leather, this time for 2 pairs of shoes. So that night he was overjoyed that he could now make 2 pair of shoes by selling just that one that magically appeared in his shop. So he did exactly as he did every night. He cut out the leather for the shoes and told his wife, "In the morning, I'll get to work and I'll craft these shoes." So they went to bed saying their blessings for what a beautiful day it had been for them. However, woke up the next morning, they couldn't believe their eyes. There, instead of the leather that he had cut out for the 2 pair of shoes, there now stood 2 beautifully made shoes right in his shop. And just as the day before, customers came in, saw the marvelous shoes, saw how beautifully crafted they were, and decided not just to pay the money that he was asking, but to pay more. So this went on day after day. Every night, the shoemaker would cut out pairs of leather to make in the morning, and every day when they awoke, there would be more and more pairs of shoes. And at this point, the shoemaker and his wife were not as poor as they had been before. They were making enough money so that this way they could keep buying more leather to make more shoes. One night they decided, "My sweetheart, can you move back from me, please?" "Thank you, sweetheart." Yep, thank you. I know it's hard to stay still. They decided they had such good fortune, they couldn't wait to see who was coming to make all of these shoes. So the shoemaker said to his wife, "Let's sit up tonight and see if we see the ones who've been coming, who've been so good to me." So that night, just as they always did, the shoemaker and his wife went to sleep. And before he went to sleep, he put out the leather to be made into shoes the next morning. And just as it had been happening night after night, but this time, this time, instead of going to sleep, the shoemaker and his wife decided they were actually going to stay up and wait and see who was coming. In came, before their very eyes, 2 naked little elves. They couldn't believe their eyes. There were 2 little naked elves who came in, saw the leather, and immediately went to work, crafting the most beautiful shoes that the shoemaker and his wife had ever seen. And sure enough, just as they had done every night, before the night was over, there were new pairs of shoes, the finest shoes he had ever seen, sitting there. And the elves didn't say a word. They just ran right out the door from where they came. Well, the next morning, the shoemaker and his wife, they decided that because the elves had been so good to them, they were going to do something as a gift for the elves. The wife even said, "Those little men have sure made us rich. Let's make them some clothes to leave as a gift." So that night, instead of putting out leather for new shoes, the shoemaker and his wife made little pairs of clothes to leave out for the elves. Little shirts, little trousers, and even little shoes for each of them. And they decided to stay up again to see what the reactions would be of the elves. So instead of going to bed once again, they hid to see what would happen. Just as they had come in every night, the 2 little naked elves came running in, and they looked around for the leather, but they couldn't believe their eyes. Instead of leather, there were little clothes for them. They were so excited, they started to jump for joy. They put their clothes on, and they sang, and they danced, and they sang, "Hidey-ho, hidey-hee, no longer shoemakers shall we be." And they took their beautiful fine clothes made by the shoemaker and his wife, and out they ran, never to be seen again. But the shoemaker and his wife had done so well up to that point and had learned how to make those beautiful shoes and how to make them so delicately that they took those practices and continued to keep making shoes. And from then on, they never wanted for anything in the world, and they always shared what they had with the rest of the village. They never came again, those strange little elves, but we're still doing fine, and all is still well.